Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. Here for episode 4, the Chinese Grand Prix. We'll start off this episode by rectifying a failed powertrain upgrade. I believe it was ignition switches, designed to give ourselves more engine power. And skip on to practice 1. We'll skip all the practice sessions from this episode onwards, I believe. It was raining, it was our first wet running in this game. It started off as full wet conditions but moved to intermediates, but I retired from the session before we moved to winters. That's why we're P22. Going to practice 2, completing all the qualifying programs except the qualifying pace program. Ended up the session in P8, so promising signs for qualifying. And now we're picking a rival. Now, I want to pick a rival that's going to get us a lot of acclaim, so that would be Gasly, Raikkonen or Giovinazzi. I feel like AlphaTauri, I believe we're either already ahead of them or they haven't been much of a threat to us, whereas Alfa Romeo have been. So I decided to go to Antonio Giovinazzi because he's got the higher acclaim and I believe is statistically the worst driver, so should be easy for us to beat him. But go back to practice 2, unfortunately we didn't pass the qualifying pace program, which was a bit odd considering we did finish that practice session in P8. Some drivers were on the mediums, so probably not representative of their actual pace. But fortunate signs for us going into qualifying. Hopefully we might be able to get a potential Q2 appearance, although that could be quite difficult considering the nature of this game's AI in qualifying. Qualifying AI is considerably stronger than what it is in the race and practice, so we'll have to pull out a mega lap in order to progress to Q2. Now going to practice 1, it's our first wet running on this game, and as I'm recording this now I have actually done another race that was full wet conditions on the full wet tyres. And for what I can tell you, this year's wet weather AI performance is a lot more balanced than F1 2019. F1 2019, the game started off with the player being very powerful in the wet, and then a few months into the game that did a full role reversal and the AI were ridiculously overpowered in the wet to the point where you had to lower the difficulty quite a bit to be able to compete with them. But finishing off our practice sessions, we came out of around 700 resource points. That's going to seriously help our development as we head into qualifying out for the Chinese Grand Prix. We also reached Team Acclaim level 5, which will allow us to pick another secondary sponsor at the end of this episode. Jack Aiken as well, so contributing a rather nice 170 odd resource points for us, which is nice to see. The AI helping us, our teammate helping us rather, get onto the development race a lot faster than what we were able to in previous F1 games. As you see, it's our first lap in Q1. Look at the tyre temperatures there. Going through turn 13, the long snail section before the back straight, tyres are reaching 105 degrees, which is the upper limit of where these tyres perform. We come across the line set at 1:32.699, which puts us initially 4th fastest. A pretty decent lap, but it was right at the start of the session, so I expect that lap time to our position to fall rather quickly as other AI start to put in their lap time. But going back to the tyre temperatures, it's a significant problem, especially on F1 2019, as your car started to develop a lot faster and it became a lot faster. You would actually start to lose performance. I remember Hungary being an absolutely atrocious track for tyre wear. You couldn't use your car's full potential because you'd be at 112 degrees, I think was the highest I ever got, 112, 114 degrees, and at that point your tyres just overheat and it's an absolute nightmare to do. But at the moment we're waiting for the time to go down. And I'm only going to do 2 runs in this qualifying session. I was feeling pretty confident that we could get into Q2 and I wanted to save a set of tyres for Q2. So we're going to go out at the very depth of the session or the very death. Is it depth or death? Let me know in the comments. We're currently residing, I think, P19 it was, and we're going to head out onto the track, go onto a flying lap. In realism, I should have probably driven out, use a bit more fuel, keep the temperatures of the tyres under wraps, but it should be okay. We're in P20 at the moment, Aiken's up in P18, good for him. He's gets a good lap in this time around. He could be potentially challenging for a Q2 position, but as you can see he's in quite a bit of traffic behind both of the Williams. Now we're coming through the final corner to start our hot lap here at the end of Q1. We're going to ride on boards. So accelerating all the way down to the first style section, which is turns 1, 2, 3 and 4. Let the car roll through there, use the incline and the car's momentum to brake for you, or else occasionally feathering the brake. We managed to pick up 2.5, nearly 3 tenths through that corner, but we lose quite a bit on exit. Still 2 tenths up, heading down into turn 5, little kink here, down into turn 6, end of the first sector. We're about 2.5 tenths up. Nearly 2 tenths up on Jack Aiken's time. Heading down towards turn 7 and 8, absolutely lovely part of the track. You absolutely throw it in here, hold it in 7th gear. Shift down 2 times, down to 5th, and then down to 4th to get another road, to get some more rotation in the car. Heading through turn 9s, turns 10. Accelerate towards the second style section, which is turns 11, 12 and 13. We're nearly 3 tenths up. My recording software is freezing, because why wouldn't it be? Heading through the style section, we're actually gaining quite a considerable amount of time here. Then we lose on the exit. I was on a great run through there, and that's going to affect us all the way down this 1 kilometre long back straight. Heading down to turn 14, we've got DRS open, no overtake deployed. Heading down into the hairpin of turn 14. First gear, rotate the car, quickly shift up into second, third. We lose the back end a little bit there on exit. Head down to turn 16 now, throw the car in 4th gear, ride the curb, and we come across the line, and we're nearly 4 tenths up. I think it was 3.8, and we're only P18. I believe we jumped Jack there, but that's quite disappointing considering we were P8 in practice 2. But it's where our car should relatively be. I think we're the 3rd slowest car at the moment on the grid. Obviously the performance index can lie occasionally, but P18 we really should be pushing for higher positions at this point, I believe. No real shock people going out from what I remember in Q1. I can't remember if I do go down and have a look. We do finish ahead of Jack, which is nice. Both Alfa Romeos through, so it's going to be difficult, but our race pace should be a lot better than our qualifying pace. Currently losing our rivalry to Jack at the moment, and not to Jack, to Antonio. I feel like qualifying, but let's see if we can get one up on him during the race.
Time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before the braking zone of turn 14. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Why don't we kick off by discussing Max's stand? Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. We just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Alexander Albon, and Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, Fiat, and Lando Norris. Ocon, Raikkonen, Max Verstappen, and Giovinazzi. Magnussen, Red, Carlos Sainz, and Jack Aitken. Grosjean, Latifi, Gasly, and George Russell ends our grid lineup. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So as you can see, plenty of penalties going around. We actually get elevated into P16 through penalties, I believe, of Gasly and Sainz. Taking engine penalties, we decided not to. I believe I'm still running the same engine components as what we've been running for the past 3 races. I didn't feel as confident with China as what I usually do with some other power tracks, so I decided to keep our grid position. And today we're going to be doing the one-stop strategy. I've learned from my previous 3 races to put a little less fuel in the car, so I believe we're going to go with 0.8 of an extra lap. Do one stop from the mediums onto the hards, 5 red lights, and it's lights out, away we go. Good initial launch off the line, but then we lose it in 3rd gear. Get overtaken by Sainz, go to the inside on soft compound tyres. Very mixed grid at the moment. We're going through turn 1 and a little gap opens up on the inside, so we decide to send it down about the inside of 4 or 5 cars there. Leaves us on the outside though for turn 3 and turn 4. Hopefully if we get a decent exit we should be able to claw positions back, but unfortunately we ride the curb and Verstappen and Giovinazzi get back past us. Think about looking up the inside of Giovinazzi, then realise it's not a good idea and I'll probably end up losing my front wing, so we decide to back off. Now we're coming under pressure from Carlos Sainz, who's bumping into our side pod. He gets up the inside into turn 7. We manage to hold it around the outside, which gives us the inside for next turn, turn 8. And we hold on to that position. Sainz then goes around our outside and we force him off the track a little bit. Hold the position, so pretty intense first couple of sectors to this lap. Verstappen's getting a bit squirmy there on the exit, holding up Giovinazzi a bit. Now I did notice throughout the entirety of the race and qualifying that we were very strong out the exit of this snail section. Unfortunately we get a massive slap of oversteer at the end. End up getting a track exceeding warning, but we've put it up to rich and overtake. We're going to absolutely fly past Giovinazzi here. Heading into the braking zone. Those soft compound tyres are going to be overheating like mad. We actually decided to have a look at Verstappen as well. We have to mount the curb quite a bit though, and he gets the better exit around the outside with a more flowing run. But the soft compound tyres, they're going to wear off within 2, 3, 4 laps depending on how aggro they are on the tyres, where these mediums are going to be considerably better. So it will be marginal between whether the 1-stop or the 2-stop will work in this. The 2-stop is a soft medium strategy. We cut onto lap 4 now. Verstappen's romped off into the distance, so now we're chasing down Raikkonen. I believe this might be our fastest lap, or one of our fastest laps of the race. Do a kill cross line, there's 37.2. A couple of people in the pits. There's the soft compound runners. They're stopping really. They're going to be not necessarily buried in traffic. They're just going to be a long way behind. See, this is the issue. If you're too quick at the start, say the Mercedes or the Ferrari, if they're too quick and they stay out for 6-7 laps on the softs, they're going to be buried in the midfield traffic. But if you're slow when you're on the softs, you'll get put to the back and you have clear air. So it's a very complex strategy that can go on at the Chinese Grand Prix here. We're trying to catch up to Raikkonen now. We actually have much better aero than the Alfa Romeo and a better straight line speed. I believe our setup was more geared to the straight line speed aspect, and our natural chassis and aero side of things helping us through the middle sector to keep up with the Alfa Romeos, which are our main rivals, not just Antonio, but the Alfa Romeo is sort of like the dark horse really. So we're going to see if we can get a nice exit going out of turn 13 onto the back straight. We've got overtake Rich and we will get DRS. Closing quickly on Raikkonen. We open the DRS now, about halfway down the straight. Now we're going to send it to the inside. Early on the brakes to Raikkonen, but we lift off halfway through the braking zone. We managed to get the car in. And Kimi does a switch back, but we get good flowing exit. We managed to get up the inside of him. That puts us up into P11. So first 5 laps has been a good start. We've come across the line to set a personal best of a 1:37.0. Raikkonen doesn't decide to go for the counter attack, going into turns 1 and 2. Turns 1, 2, well, this entire section really, turns 1, 2, 3, 4, is a bit of an awkward section, because it's sort of the reverse of long flowing corners where you're waiting to get on the power. This one, you get on the brakes a little bit, then you've got to let the car flow, and it's really awkward to try and feather the throttle. It's like turn 10 at Bahrain, that triple left-hander. Going down there, it's such an awkward corner to navigate. The first nail section at Shanghai is very awkward to navigate. The second one isn't. The second one we're really strung out of. It's a lot easier to put the traction down. Out of there, we just let the car sort of flow really nice out the exit, sort of using the centrifugal force really of the camber of the circuit, just the natural longitudinal, was it latitude? I think it's longitude lean of the car, just to get ourselves out of trouble. And did you see we gained, like, we extended our gap by quite a few tenths over Raikkonen there. I was staying on board for this because I think this is the fastest lap we do on the medium compound tyres. There's a massive gaggle of cars up there, about 4, 5, 6 cars, and we're getting to the back of those quite quickly. Another couple of people are in the pits. I believe that's one of the Mercedes at one of the racing points. It is Perez, and the Mercedes I believe is Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton opting to go for the 2-stop, which isn't a bad shout from him really. He's very quick, as you see here, cutting onto lap 11. We lost touch with Verstappen and Ocon. Hamilton is all over the back of us here. No surprise, that Mercedes is ridiculously quick, especially on fresh soft compound tyres. So I believe Hamilton's actually going for a double soft medium strategy, or it might be double soft hard. Very interesting strategy, but I believe the AI can pull that off because the AI don't suffer that much from tyre temperatures, which is a thing that does need to be sorted out, if not for this year's game, definitely for next year's. I don't decide to fight that position, we only keep his standard, don't use overtake. I was half planning to maybe get back at him into turn 1 and not fight the position and waste ERS, even though we're full on battery, which I should have probably deployed a bit more. But it's a Mercedes, we're not fighting it, so I decided to save the car a little bit. I'll save the latter pace. At the moment, Hamilton hasn't really romped off as much as I thought he would. I believe lap 12 now we'll be coming into the pits to bolt on the hard compound tyres. No, we're not. I'll say a few last time. And there's a couple of other people, that's why we've gone. It's this lap we're going on to the hard compound tyres. Verstappen's in, Vettel's in. Right, for me and Vettel, very close on the exit of the pit lane there. We actually managed to go right round the outside. Bottas was in as well. Bottas is doing an alternate strategy to Hamilton. It's very interesting how Hamilton has to make another stop, but Bottas won't, but Hamilton will have the end of the race pace to potentially close up to his teammate, so we'll have to see how that battle pans out. Managed to hold the car around the outside of Vettel. More for pride and bragging rights, if anything. I didn't really need to fight him all too much. I shouldn't be fighting him, but through this middle sector he's going to be nowhere near us, and Hamilton's actually coming back into our clutches here. Maybe the soft tyres are wearing out quite considerably. We actually lose the back end, and Vettel dives a power inside and gives us a nice little touch. You can see the AI be very realistic, diving up the inside and potentially spinning Vettel out. Feels bad for the Ferrari in 2020. I don't feel bad for Vettel, I'm not a Vettel fan. Anyway, going on to the back straight now. We'll be coming into the pits at the end of this lap, but we're right up the arse of Hamilton, and we'll potentially get him going down to turn 14, so we put up into overtake. But if we're a bit too close, we might put up into Rich at the end of this straight, but I think we're just trying to save the engine a bit here. Dive to the inside. Pretty easy overtake. Hamilton, we kind of come across Hamilton a little bit there in the braking zone, but I don't think any damage was done to either of us. Managed to get the inside of the Mercedes, and we will be coming to the pits at the end of this lap to put on the hard compound tyres. You can see Ocon, and I believe that's Lando Norris is in as well, so we could potentially be fighting those. We've also got Raikkonen, who's sort of been lurking in the background, not pressuring us all too much, but has been that ever-present threat. So let's see if we can have a good stop from the Chungus Khan racing crew. 2.1 seconds, very nice pit stop by those, so we get out into a nice bit of clear air as well. Lance Stroll, oh no, we don't get up into clear air. Well, Yeah, actually we do manage to push Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi's on the medium, so I believe he's doing a 2-stop, so he shouldn't be a factor of us in this race. Their car's not massively quicker than ours to make the 2-stop work and beat us.
Okay, gap ahead is 1.3 seconds. They're on old hards. Their tyres are 6 laps old. The time last lap was a 1:36.8.
Just checking on the status of Stroll there, seeing what his fastest lap is on the hard compound tyres. I believe we've got 1 lap fresher hard tyres. But the issue here was Force India is we get another warning for exceeding track limits at the exit of turn 13. And Force India, that racing point is really quick. We decide to have a massive dive bomb down the inside there to try and get the position. That was probably our only chance until our tyres start to die off there. Unfortunately we ran really wide and Stroll gets back past us, and I believe that's probably going to be it for our attempts on Stroll. We do come across the lap and set personal best of 1:36.596. But that was it. We have another go at Stroll, actually I believe on the next lap or the lap after that. Hanging around the outside. So we get a nice drive, but Stroll's coming back at us. But we'll have the inside for turn 16. We managed to make it stick. Keeping overtaking Rich to defend going to turn 1. Couple of the rest of the 2-stops, I believe that was Albon and Ricciardo, have come into the pits, and they're going to be quite close to us, so we're going to have to watch out for them in the last 12 laps of this Grand Prix. They're going to be quite a threat later on, as Hamilton there is just caught up to the back of us and has just shot straight past us. Hamilton, he's gone to the mediums, so he must have been out a really long time on those. No, he came in the same time for the softs, so he must have just got held up in traffic. But Hamilton is nowhere in contention for winning this race or even getting on the podium here. So a massive failed strategy there by Mercedes. You can see Bottas was just going through the second to last corner on that lap where Hamilton got past us. So about half the track, half the circuit difference between them. So we've got to that 21, unfortunately. I believe that's Esteban Ocon. Oh, it's Sergio Perez that starts this Grand Prix. So that elevates us into P9. We're actually running the points at the moment. We just have to make sure to keep Stroll at bay. But Albon is caught up right to the back of us. On those fresh medium tyres and that Red Bull is going to be very dangerous for these last 8 laps of this Grand Prix. But we managed to hold off Albon before back in Bahrain to score our first point. So hopefully, this race we can hold him off. So we cut on to lap 22 now. Albon shot past Stroll on the previous lap. We held the position, but Albon is going to our inside. And I made a massive misplay here. I didn't flick it up into overtaking Rich as early as I should have, so Albon's going to get at the inside into turns 14. Try and do the switch, but I get a nice exit. Unfortunately, the car just gets so out of shape on the exit due to low tyre, and that was it. Oh, Albon just went. Yeah, well, on lap 26, that was only 4 or 5 laps later, and he's 7.5 seconds of the road. But we're still in the points, and now we've got to defend from Ricciardo. And Ricciardo's on fresh, well, is on newer mediums than us. Don't know what tyre will be like, but he comes screaming up to the back of us again. I don't put it up into overtake. I was sort of going for the theory that I could get him back on the next straight, or I'd be relatively okay, but I deserve to lose that position. I just hardly fought it, and unfortunately that's dropped us out of the points there. It's arguable, it can be argued whether we would have stayed in the points. We might have been able to hold on, but we potentially could have. We tried to have a go back at Ricciardo to turn 1 here. Unfortunately we're a bit too far back. We might be able to get him though on this penultimate lap, going down into the hairpin if we stick with him. But those fresh mediums are going to give him such an edge going through that middle sector. As you can see, that the traction out there is already double the distance on us. But we're still up on our personal best. This might be a personal best lap time, depending on how close we are. We might be able to get him. We just got to flow the car really nicely through this middle part of the lap. Got Stroll also lurking in the wings. Valtteri Bottas, that's the fastest lap of the race. He's checked out in front. He's lapping the Williams at this point. So he looks to be set for the full baggage of 26 points. Us on the other hand, we're fighting over 10th place, and this is going to be crucial when we get to the end of the season and trying to fight for places in the constructors to get more money. We're actually 9 tenths behind Ricciardo. We get a pretty mediocre exit. It started off well and then sort of faded away from us, but we're going to use all of our overtake, all of our fuel now, trying to close us to the back of him, but he must be an overtake as well because we're only close up by a few tenths. We're not close enough going to the braking, so we throw on the brakes really late there, close up massively to him. Unfortunately nothing does of it. We are nearly 8 tenths up on our previous best lap time. So when we come across the lap, the start finish straight, we will set our fastest lap. It is, we're nearly a second faster doing a 1:35.3. I don't know what that is in terms of the fastest lap. I can't remember what Bottas just said, but that's really quick from us. Stroll has fallen back quite a bit. We're still close to Ricciardo, so if we save up enough ERS and we've got enough fuel, I'm able to catch up with him, but out of that corner he goes and he's going to be over a second by the time we exit. Turn 6, I think that's going to be all she wrote for trying to get P10 there. Now, at this point, he's 1.2, yeah. I decided at this point that it's best to focus on Stroll behind. So I'm putting it into lean, I'm putting it into medium, I'm trying to save up as much ERS and fuel as possible to make sure I have enough to defend with on the back straight. Valtteri Bottas comes home to take a pretty convincing win. Hamilton is absolutely nowhere near him at the end, so massive balls up by Mercedes there on the strategy. The Ferraris come home line astern. I believe it was Leclerc Vettel. We'll see after the race. We're coming through turn 13 now on the last lap. Get a nice exit, a little bit of a twitch through the mid part of the corner, but we throw up into Rich and overtake. Careful not to extend the track limits and get a penalty, because that would throw us back into P12. We are ahead of our rivals and P11 is going to be crucial, especially for the championship, although we'd like points but we're not going to get them. Stroll doesn't fight us at all, don't think he had any fuel or ERS left. As we come through the final corner, it is going to be P11. Pretty decent race at Shanghai. Bit of a messy defensive part on the last few laps for me. They're not put up to overtake and losing positions to Albon and Ricciardo, but at the end of the day we improved our position, beat our rivals, so I'm very happy with that result.
It's victory in Shanghai then, and what a victory it is after an incredible Grand Prix. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So Vettel getting ahead of Leclerc there, got that the wrong way round, so we must have managed to work the undercut to perfection even though he was fighting us out of the pits.
So then, it's time to see how this result
And yeah,
the drivers' championship.
Hamilton only getting P7 after starting on pole position. That was absolutely atrocious. As you can see, all the two-stop runners lost positions. Albon, Ricciardo, they all dropped, and all the one-stop runners benefited. Daniel Kvyat up there for AlphaTauri in P4. Absolutely fantastic drive by him. And ourselves in P11, pretty decent. You see there Hamilton running his own strategy, doing a soft medium strategy, and Max Verstappen getting driver of the day. So a pretty mixed bag of results there for the entire grid. Some drivers performing, some failing. Drivers doesn't change much, constructors doesn't change much. We haven't scored any points the past two races, but we still hold down P9 in the constructors, which is always good. My aim really is to do well in the constructors to get more dosh for next season, and then we can potentially fight for the drivers, maybe a few podiums, maybe even a win in season 2 if we get lucky. Later on this season, and we've got a really good car, we might be able to get a podium. Best bet is probably Monza or Belgium. Monza and Belgium are my two best tracks, so hopefully we'll do well there, but maybe something will come in a different race. You see there, picking up some nice resource points from Acclaim and beating Giovinazzi, or getting ahead of Giovinazzi in the rivalry. We also added some chassis upgrades to come on in time for, I believe it's the Spanish Grand Prix. We choose DSB Optics there as our second sponsor, our second secondary sponsor. I do not remember what their target was. Should have been paying attention to that. I think it might be achieve like a certain position during the race. I might have to go back and look at that. I might look next episode. But I chose them to sort of fit with our car, so it's a doable sponsor goal. That's it. We're now choosing our activities. We decided to do a sponsor advertisement driver promotion film. We're trying to get in some more money and Acclaim. We're also looking at maybe doing an aero equipment upgrade. Can't remember what I picked. This is quite a while ago. We do an aero equipment upgrade. We use our resource points in our aero because we're trying to keep that relatively high for us, even though our aero is probably the best part of the car. As we go through the next 2 weeks, we have a press interview with Will Buxton, so let's go to that and see what he has to say, or what we have to say to him.
Here we are in the HQ of our newest Formula One team. We've got an awful lot to talk about, so let's jump straight in. What are your predictions for your team going into this season?
Predictions for this season. This is interesting. We're not going to be fighting at the top or the high midfield, so we're going to aim to be a solid midfield team. I believe that's a reasonable goal.
To say that in terms of team orders,
Team orders. Now this is a very, very interesting question to ask 4 races in. Now I haven't invested much in Jack at the moment, but I've decided to go with no team orders. But if Jack doesn't start pulling his finger out, maybe we'll have to look at another driver for the latter half of this season, or maybe throwing in some team orders there. And I've said that Jack's settling in quite well.
championship this season,
And we'll be going for the constructors. No, we won't. I think we'll just be trying to get some development in and plenty of points as we pick there.
do you see your relationship with your second driver being long-term?
Again, Will fishing for the bloody first and second driver roles here. Yeah, we said we're investing staff here, but I am probably going to look at getting a better driver for season 2. Depends on how Jack performs. If Jack performs well, we're not just going to abandon him, i.e. Vettel Leclerc style for this 2020 season. We're going to help simulation. We're going to build him up a bit and make him a good driver, so if we do decide to let him go, he can go to a different team. We're not just going to completely throw him out the window like I did on last year's game. We think the upgrade, one of our upgrades came in. I don't know, I'll have to see next episode. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. Well, last year, what I mentioned by that was I was driving for McLaren for about 3 seasons, and I decided to move up to Red Bull for either the 4th or 5th season, I can't remember. And I had something like 10,000 resource points because I'd fully upgraded the McLaren within 2 seasons. I'd just been getting so many points, and I thought that because there was a regulation change between the 2 seasons, and I was swapping teams at the end of that, so I thought, I will sign for Red Bull and then I'll fix all of McLaren's stuff and use my resource points on them. Then turns out that's not how it worked. I signed for Red Bull, I instantly went to the Australian Grand Prix, and McLaren went from being the best car on the grid by quite a way to being the worst car on the grid by quite a way, and I'm sat here at Red Bull with 10,000 resource points, which was not my proudest moment. But anyway, let's endeavour to not throw Jack under the bus, as we threw McLaren under the bus on last year's game. But anyway, if you did enjoy this Chinese Grand Prix, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel to see plenty more F1 2020 content. Next Grand Prix will be the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. New track, new challenges, and it seems like quite a fun track. So I'll catch you all for that Grand Prix very soon. Goodbye.